Prime Minister Narendra Modi's 111 speeches from March 17 to May 15 were analysed by Indian Express, a leading English newspaper which revealed key themes and shifts in the narrative of the Modi government, which is looking to return to power for the third term.
नरेंद्र मोदी जिंदाबाद।
कांग्रेस पर मुस्लिम लीगियों और माओवादियों ने कब्जा कर लिया है। ऐसे हाथ पछाड़ के बोल रहे हैं मुसलमानों को आरक्षण मिलना चाहिए। कांग्रेस ने अपना जो घोषणा पत्र निकाला है उसमें भी मुस्लिम लीग की भाषा लिखी गई है।
धर्म के आधार पर इन्होंने देश को बांटा। धर्म के आधार पर भांति भांति के बंटवारे करने में लगे हुए।
मोदी है तो वो लिख के रखें, उनके लिए नामुमकिन है।
Prime Minister Modi's initial speeches centered around criticizing the Congress and the Gandhi family's hegemony, while promoting the themes of development, which is Vikas, global leadership, which is Vishwa, and a vision for a prosperous India by 2047, which is Viksit Bharat. However, there was a gear shift in Prime Minister's speeches after the release of Congress manifesto. Prime Minister's rhetoric post-April 5th shifted focus to Hindu-Muslim issues and concerns about wealth, redistribution and religion-based reservation that could negatively impact STs, SCs and OBCs. So let's take a look at the data to understand the rhetorical shift. So if you look at this data, from April 17 to April 5th, Congress number of speeches 10, corruption 10, development 10 and welfare scheme 10. From March 17 to April 5th, poor women 9 speeches, Vishwa 8, other opposition 8 and Modi's guarantee 7. March 17, he also referred to Ram Temple and 400, 400 par, 6 and 8. So, I am giving you an anatomy of what has happened. So, let's listen into PM Modi's speech from an election rally.
ये इंडी अलायंस वाले घोर कम्युनल है, 100% सांप्रदायिक है। दूसरा, ये इंडी अलायंस वाले घोर जातिवादी है, 100% जातिवादी है। और तीसरा, ये इंडी अलायंस वाले घोर परिवारवादी है, 100% परिवारवादी। अपने बेटे बेटी के सिवा कुछ करना ही नहीं। ये वो लोग हैं जिनकी सरकारों में देश सांप्रदायिकता की आग में जले। ये वो लोग हैं जिन्होंने सालों तक देश को जातिवाद में बांटकर पिछड़ों का हक मारा है।
So now let me take you through the data of April 6 to April 20th. 34 speeches, Congress 32, development 32, schemes 31 and then 28. This is 6th April to April 20th, Modi's guarantee 28, corruption 27, Ram Temple 26. Ram Temple has gone up and Muslim League manifesto makes an appearance. Opposition is anti-Hindu 17 times, Vishwa 19 times and opposition in reference to their performance, 400 par 13 times. But now, everything shifts. Congress 23, Hindu-Muslim 60, scheme 60, development 60. Other opposition 57, ST, SC welfare 54, corruption 50, poor 49. Suddenly, Ram Temple also goes up 43, 416, infiltrators 12, Mangal Sutra 23. So, it's infiltrator, Mangal Sutra, Ram Temple and Hindu-Muslim. So, this is the change which is reflected between April 21st to May 15th. So, the question is, was Prime Minister Narendra Modi and BJP unsuccessful in controlling the narrative of the election in first phase? With each passing phase was the BJP just reacting to the agenda set by the opposition rather than setting the narrative themselves, something which BJP has really excelled at? 400 power was mentioned heavily in the initial speeches but gradually declined as election progressed. Did BJP realize that this has backfired? Does this hint at BJP not confident of crossing the 400? It has happened. Amit Shah long time had said 15-16 lakh ka मामला जुमला था. Did the mission 400 backfire? Hindu-Muslim became a core issue in later speeches, but it didn't feature in PM's earlier speeches. Why? However, it is important to note that some thematic continuity remains, with Ram Temple, development and slamming of the Congress party finding consistent mentions. On this issue, I am joined by Ajit Keja, senior journalist, Bhanuchandra Nagarajan, political analyst, and Brijesh continues to be with me. Brijesh, let's frame it.
Well, I think, what happened is that in the first speech, or in the first phase of voting was done, BJP was taken aback by the lesser number of votes which has been polled, and I think that is when the party realized that it has to galvanize and make sure that their cadres reach to the booth, and also issues which appeal to the core base of their hardcore cadres. And that is the reason why you see, from the second phase to the third phase, there came a tectonic shift. Tectonic shift, I would say, that in the sense that, you're talking about development, you're talking about how Congress is a corrupt party, Congress only works for the family and all, to Congress, but majorly, concentrating on Hindu and Muslim issues, especially targeting, which started by targeting Congress's manifesto, is a manifesto of Muslim League. I think from there it started, and the Prime Minister has not looked back from that till this date, and where Muslim becomes the leitmotif of his attack and his speech. It feels, that the strategy in the BJP would be that it makes their core cadre feel galvanized, and it makes their core cadre, more responsive to going out and vote. And that is the reason why, the BJP had made this shift from, from a completely dominated to either Congress or development or, Ram Temple, and how BJP has worked for Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, to a speech which is now dominated by either giving reservation to the Muslims and all. The second thing which prompted this shift was that the Congress party and others were kind of giving BJP jittery movements when it came to reservations and how jiski jitte hissedari uski utni bhagedari. I think that gave jitters to the BJP, which then started to change it around by saying that they are planning to give reservation to Muslims at the cost of SC, ST and OBC.
Okay, Bhanu, to you. Do you think that this also happened in response to elections taking place on regional, local, or certain issues which were confined to the West, like Rajasthan, North Karnataka, or South Tamil Nadu, something which is very specific to coastal Karnataka, like Lord Jagannath controversy, which Sambit Patra has created today? It's because of that all these things happen?
Karthikeya, there are usually three major phases in a political campaign. The first phase is usually an attack phase or a negative phase. The second phase is a problem solution phase, where a party will say, these are the problems, this is the solution I'm offering. The last phase is usually a positive phase, where the party talks about the leader and what the party has to offer, etc. Right? This is usually very apparent in well-run opposition campaigns. 2014 is a classic case of this. In the current Congress campaign, they are still stuck in the negative phase of why not Modi, and they have not gone to the other two phases. Just a brief introduction. But if you look at the BJP's campaign, it has all the three elements combined together in various proportions running throughout the campaign. On top of it is the Congress, the opposition, the negative phase of it. Then the second phase is the problem solution phase, which is basically the schemes that the party has done over the last 10 years. The last one is the positive phase, which is Viksit Bharat, how we have to become the third largest economy, so on and so forth. So there's a bit of mixing and matching done by the Prime Minister. He's doing so for multiple reasons. One is what you had mentioned in your initial remarks on various phases going through, passing through various regions, etc., etc. The other one is perhaps because of the long election campaign, and also the third one is because the voting percentage got reduced, and the Prime Minister wanted to evoke some emotional issues to fire up the cadre. So all of this is in play together, and Prime Minister is a master politician, right? And he's also running for the third time office. So we should remember all of this, but he's still following the playbook in one way or the other.
Okay, so you're saying it's a playbook act. Ajit, do you agree?
See, I feel that if you do, let's say, a morphology of the BJP support base, there are, I mean, one can make lots of points, but basically there are four kinds of voters that vote for the BJP. One, which votes on the Hindutva plan, right? The Ram Mandir, etc., etc. The other is the nationalism, the hyper-nationalism, which includes from G20 to India's sort of, name in the world, etc., etc. Third are the poor people, the Labhyarthi, those who basically vote for all kinds of welfare schemes. And finally, the floating voters. We have seen this in 2014, 2019 as well. Now, the second point is, since elections is a war cry, what happens is it's a strategic game. You respond to what the rival is doing. So initially, everything begins with Labhyarthi development, etc., etc. And then immediately, as the Congress raises issues of caste, for example, class warfare in a way through the redistribution of wealth, then the Prime Minister changes his tack. What is interesting is both of these changes of tack happened in Rajasthan. On April 5, as you pointed out, and April 21 in Ajmer and Banswara. And that's because Rajasthan was facing extreme competition. I mean, last two times the BJP had swept Rajasthan. This time it seemed there was a massive competition there. So Prime Minister changed his tack and started with calling the Congress manifesto as the Muslim League. And from on April 21, he talked about the Ghuspaitis, which is very near the border with Pakistan, right? So it's basically a strategic response to Rahul Gandhi's war cry of mandal, of reservation, of class redistribution. And that's where the Prime Minister is responding, changing his tack, a positive development-based campaign in the beginning, switched to
But
a
Ajit,
hardcore negative campaign
Ajit, I
to
thought,
raise the turnout.
Okay, Ajit, I thought that the Prime Minister has been very successful in delinking the love for your own country from Hindu-Muslim hyphenation. 2014 and 2019, he became the sole proprietor of nationalism, which Indira Gandhi was. And it included everyone. I thought that has happened. So it is for a reason when he started saying Hindu-Muslim, I found it very surprising. So are you saying that has not happened? The sort of completely owning the nationalist discourse.
Well, let me put it this way. You see, there is a certain section of the BJP hardcore voters who, according to one of the senior leaders, let me actually name him, I did an interview some time back, Ajit Doval, he pointed out, that they never voted for even Bajpayee. These are the hardcore, the Bajrang Dal type voters who ran behind, during the Ram Mandir agitation, mainly coming from the OBCs and the so-called MBCs, right? They were behind the Ram Mandir agitation, if you remember. Now, these are the voters, unless you bring up this issue of Hindu versus Muslim and you make it a clear stand that you are attacking the minority, they will not come out and vote. And that's what was happening if you notice the first two phases, where the turnout, first phase especially, where the turnout was very low. So the Prime Minister's speech changed basically to bring them out. I mean, in short, I wanted to tell you that, see, even forget the Muslim voters, even among the Hindus, only 38% voters vote for the BJP. So basically, they want to bring out the hardcore Hindu voters who are normally, doesn't come out in a normal election. They came out in 2014, 2019 in a major way because there was a tsunami, as we all agreed. But in this election, it was very different. Suddenly, from a so-called tsunami election, it was turning into basically a simple normal election where only issues of unemployment, inflation, development issues were coming to the fore. Therefore, the change in the tack. Negative campaign, as we have seen even in American elections, brings up turnout level. Basically, you target your rival. Sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it can backfire. So, for example, when Prime Minister raised that Adani Ambani, I think he was there overstepping his boundaries and probably doing a self-goal, but on other issues, he knew exactly the voter he was targeting, and therefore when you see the later turnout numbers in the last 3 phases, they are almost as equal
Okay,
to
but these things doesn't matter in politics, but then, I'm not in politics and I ask this question, Bhanu, doesn't it belittle the slogans like Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas? When you say something like this, it has to mean something.
It is credit to the Prime Minister's political acumen that he still runs as a challenger. Okay, he is running for the 3rd time, but he still runs as a challenger, positing the Congress as the.
I think that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Right?
Challenger is still not into the mode that he's still.
But this doesn't answer your question,
Yeah, I'm coming to that.
Okay.
So
I'll come to you, Ajit. I'll come to you. Bhanu, please.
So it is because the dynasts, the dynasts, Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi are out there, and people are still able to relate to it, and also because of oratorical skills, etc., that he is able to remind them of the bad old days. But coming to what you said, asked Karthikeya, the point is I still feel that he is targeting the Congress's point of view, right? He's doing anti-Congress politics. He's not doing Hindu-Muslim politics. So I think nothing energizes a BJP Karyakarta more than the fact that the Congress is a pseudo-secular party and it has to be defeated. Nothing energizes a BJP Karyakarta, and that is where I think the crux of the campaign is. One last point is, we saw the numbers on the screen, but he doesn't give a qualitative view of a speech. For example, like the Prime Minister today, he spoke about Sampradaya, Parivarvad, etc., right? But in the majority of the speech today also, he spoke about development. Okay, so we pick few things for the sake of headlines, but I think usually these are wholesome speeches if you look at the whole of the speech together.
Fair enough. Ajit, 30 seconds. I'm really falling short of time.
Yeah, the main point I wanted to make is we should remember, when he's the Prime Minister of India, he does governance, he does Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. When he's campaigning, he's no more the Prime Minister. What is he? He's actually fighting for his party. He's maximizing votes and seats. He's a politician, and that's a war rhetoric. And therefore, let's not judge his campaign speeches along with his development program. There is a clear distinction, and that I think the Prime Minister is aware of, but us liberal analysts, we forget sometimes. We fudge the two and say, but ye to sabka saath, sabka vikas. Of course he does it. Look at each of the program. There was no distinction made between Hindu or Muslim among the Labhyarthi programs, for example.
But then, it raises a very big question. I agree with when Ajit says that liberal overanalyze it. But then the only and the most important question comes out. Who is the real Prime Minister? Or who is the real Narendra Modi we should trust? Narendra Modi, the person who runs election and campaigns and wins power?
Very well
or Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister?
Very well, very well. But thank you, Ajit. Thank you, Bhanu, for joining me. I know it was a short debate, but very sharp and precise answer.